a lot of men would like women to initiate more. And I think that's why some men are hesitant to initiate.
Yeah.
If you just let this like fall by the wayside, it's like everything else. If there's no growth in your sex life or your intimacy or your connection, it's going to bleed over into the rest of your relationship. Hi, I'm Dave Tina.
And I'm Angie Tina.
Welcome to the 10-Year Marriage Podcast.
On this podcast, we answer the question, what if your marriage came with a 10-year contract?
How would you show up if there was a deadline in your relationship? What would your life look like in the future? And how would you recommit every day?
Come with us on this journey as we navigate as partners, entrepreneurs, and parents in this big life we've created.
You know, I've had this theory for a long time that most things in life come down to sex.
You would have that theory.
I know. I believe that if every single person woke up every day with a good nut, the world would be a lot happier place. I mean, think about like that old woman, and you can just tell, like, she hasn't had a good one in a long time.
Yes.
Like her whole life could open up and become more positive. She just got a good nut. Same thing with men, right? Mm-hmm. I think at the end of the day, we're just primal fucking animals. At the end of the day, like, aren't men trying to succeed and do all this for, you know, getting paid and laid, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, overly simplistic again, and this is just heterosexual. I mean, you got to say this shit. Women control the veg and men control the money. That's the way it's been for so long, right? And it's like the exchange of all exchanges. So that's my intro to how often are people having sex.
I mean, my day has had a pretty good start from this morning.
Yes, I did. Morning sex is some of the best.
The best sex, as long as you brush your teeth beforehand.
Yeah. Did you brush your teeth? I'm like, why did you have to ask?
Because you're right there.
Yeah. This is one of like a taboo subject, and I think people are full of shit if they try, even if they answer it or feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. How often are married couples or couples in general having sex? And are they telling the truth? And is this an indicator of how great or good or bad the relationship is doing? Mm-hmm. So how often do you think we have sex?
You're going to say less. I'm going to say more. But I think we have sex on average once a week.
Once a week?
If you average it out for the whole year, right? Because there's weeks where we don't, and then there's weeks where we will, like a couple times.
And there's a vacation where we may have it 4 times over 4 days.
Right. But then if we're on a vacation with our kids, we aren't having sex the whole 7 days. You know what I mean? And then also when you take into consideration like my cycle and all of that, that's a whole different thing. Or when you're not feeling good, or when I'm not feeling good. I would say ultimately we're having it like once a week on average.
I was actually going to say more.
Oh, wow. Okay, great.
And if it is only once a week, then we got problems.
Okay. How much do you think we are?
I was going to say once or twice a week.
Listen, our like, that's why I think those little 1-2 night trips are so important, because we like, it's like what's the word I'm looking for?
Bunch them up.
Yeah.
Man, this is depressing. I almost don't want to share it with people. I feel like that's not enough sex.
What do you mean? We have a great sex life.
Well, I got to pump those numbers up.
Okay, you got to pump those numbers up, but there's something to be said about also the quality versus quantity conversation.
Fair. Here, sexless marriage. Did you remember the stats?
Yeah, it was
less than
sexless 10. Marriage is having sex less than 10 times a year.
So less than 10 times a year. That's
definitely not there.
That's 20% fall into the category. Once a month or less.
I believe it.
Is that an indicator of a problem in the relationship?
I mean, I think so. I think that, it's probably taking everything into consideration, age and health. I mean, health is such a big thing, because when you're older, like, I know when I like have like a little stomach ache, or I have a headache, or I'm overtired or whatever, the sex is literally the last thing I want to do. It's like, I want to snuggle up in my bed. I want to get cozy. All I want to do is feel better. And so if you have, I mean, we're a chronically ill community and like society. And I feel like that has a huge thing to do with it.
So it says about 45% of married couples report having sex 1 to 2 times a week.
Okay. That makes sense.
That's the average. 25 to 30% only 2 to 3 times a month, right? And the median is around 50, about once a week. Mm-hmm. What do you think should be the goal?
2 to 3 times a week would be great. Like we talked about, like every other night or like whatever. And here's the thing is we've had so many conversations about frequency, and I used to get so defensive because I would be like, what do you fucking want from me? Like, these kids are annoying and all of this stuff. And it would always be a trigger for us. But like when we were just talking about it recently, like when I was like, well, what if we did it like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, or whatever. At first, when we first started having these conversations, you were like, I do not want it to be on a calendar or be a set time or have to be scheduled, because for you, it was like you needed this spontaneous element to it. And for me, I was like, listen, like if I can plan like, hey, the kids are going to go to bed early this morning, or we're going to have a date night or whatever. If I can plan around it, I can get in the mindset to actually want to let loose.
I'd say the small percentage of women are just ready to go, right?
Yeah.
Men are ready to go all the time. Yeah. Like you could be taking off your thong, getting ready to go into the shower. And I'm like,
is that all men though?
I would assume most even homosexual men. Like I think most men are ready to go. Yes.
That's interesting, because I would disagree. I feel like there's more men than you think that are not always ready to have sex.
I think I know men because I am one, and I'm telling you.
Okay.
That's the way it is.
I believe you.
Like it's always on our mind. Mm-hmm. And since I was 11 years old and the first time I ever masturbated till going on to 48 years old, it's nice changed. That I'm married. And, I think we go from, trying to find a woman to have sex with on the hunt, right, when you don't have someone, to, all right, now I want to go make money. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't become the main focus. But every time you go on vacation, that's why I want to always get 2 rooms. Like women, it's always like, ooh, I'm in the mood now. We'll take care of it later. And then that moment can totally go away, right?
Yeah.
We're 1 enchilada or 1 cock blocking daughter away from it not happening.
We got 3 cock blockers.
Clock blockers? We got clock blockers. They are clock blockers too.
We got 3 cock blockers in our house.
So even last night, right? Like you were even saying like, ooh, I was like thinking about this, and like I could tell you were ready to go. We were even playing around intimately. Because I've been like kissing
fully clothed,
kissing on your neck and like fucking with your ear lately, like something I haven't thought about in ages. And we were giggling and laughing, like it was perfect foreplay. It was natural, and like even without the door closed, I was like, oh, I think I'm just gonna try to like. Thank God I didn't.
You did your notorious. Let's just spoon. I'm like, babe,
honestly,
we're not just going to spoon. And you're like, no, honestly. And all of a sudden, all I feel is like this little thing coming.
Why is there a little thing? Why is there a little thing?
This big thing. This big, gigantic.
This huge thing.
This humongous thing start poking me in the backside.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
And then all of a sudden, you see these 2 little feet running like, and she's like right here in our face. And we're like, oh God. And she's like, I want to hang out. We're like, ugh. Thank God we had our clothes on.
All I can think of is how now I'm getting a complex about my dick now because you said little thing.
Well, God, I meant big giant thing.
That's not true either. But
back to your point about the being ready always and not, right? So I just was watching this Mel Robbins had, I think her name's Vanessa. Vanessa and Xander is like this.
Yeah, I follow them on Instagram.
Yeah. They're like sex therapists or something. And they were saying there's 2 types of women. There's women that are the spontaneous, where it starts mentally. They're kind of like always ready to have sex. They're just always in the mood. Like you don't have to like start touching or foreplay or anything. They're just ready to go. That's a smaller percentage. And the majority, I think it's like 85% of women are the responsive sexual like dynamic. And meaning that like once the act has begun, then they're like, oh, this is fun. I'm enjoying this. This is great. I'm 100% that. Like, I think my answer always mentally is like, no. Like, I'm always like, it's just a reaction.
I think,
like, nope.
I think you enjoy it more than I do.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well, we're not on birth control. I'm not wearing protection. And for 16 years, we've been having unprotected sex without birth control. Yeah. So I'm like, pleasure her, get her to an orgasm, and not
let your marchers march.
Not get you pregnant.
Yeah.
Like it's always it's amazing.
That's why you just need to go get the vasectomy. It would be so much more enjoyable
you're
for you.
You're learning like not to say fixed, because I do not like that, because I'm not.
I'm not broken.
And you could get on
No,
Get
I'm
on-
not doing that.
Yeah,
We've
exactly.
already had this
Wonderful.
conversation.
So, do you think we'll have sex more often if that's the case?
Yes.
I do too.
100%. And it can be more spontaneous because it's like, it's just easier. Which I think out of like my friends, I'm pretty sure their sex lives definitely improved once their husbands were
Or more
had a
frequency.
vasectomy. Yes.
But yet, when we had this conversation, I'm like excited in blood. You get defensive because I'm being a dick, saying like, "I'll go get my penis cut if you make certain guarantees."
That's not, put it in the contract. See if I sign it.
You're not a
Put it
negotiator.
in the 10-year
Whatever.
contract.
Let's go through some of this other stuff. Is interesting. So, what do you think our goals should be
2 to 3 times a week.
overall?
I don't know. What's 2 times?
100 times a year.
Yeah. 100 times a year would be great.
Does oral count in that 100?
Yes.
I agree.
Oral sometimes is just as good or if not better.
I agree. Especially for me, I could just lay back and enjoy and not worry about anything.
Yeah.
Agreed. Okay, so 100 orgasms
Yeah.
each.
Should we have a tally mark somewhere?
No, because that's the thing. Our date night is spontaneous, but most of the time, date night is considered just another, a code word for this is when we're going to have sex.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But even, so what those two people that you were talking about, that Xander and whatnot,
And Vanessa? Mm-hmm.
they were saying that you should have sex before you go out on your date.
Oh, 1,000%.
Right? And they were like, how do you do this with kids? It was very interesting. They were like, have the babysitter come early, take the kids to like the park, like mommy and daddy are finishing getting ready, right?
That's not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea, right? Get it in,
Yep.
finish getting ready. And now,
You can indulge in your dinner.
not only that, like you actually have that after sex glow, right? Like both got your nut, or
You're
your
feeling
orgasm.
each other a little bit more. Yeah.
Right? And so there's no pressure on anything. You just enjoy yourself.
And I'm notorious for having a stomach ache at dinner or after I eat a large dinner. And so that's why a lot of times I would always tell you, I'm like, I don't want date night to be going to dinner because I'm going to feel like shit afterwards. And then I'm not going to want to have sex. Then you're going to get mad. Or the worst thing is like we come home from a date night and our kids are still awake. And now we got to still put them to bed. That's the worst.
That is the worst, especially when you're playing around.
Yeah, at dinner or at wherever you're at and you're like ready to go.
And I'm like, okay, now I'm going to go
And
talk
we're
to
not
my daughters
agile
and I
enough.
got to not be turned on. Yay.
Yeah.
So here's a quality problem to have. The fact that we want to have sex, right? I think people, yes, they're having less sex just in general, but there's more distractions. And this thing in my hand, and just with the stats, this gets in the way. There was some great quotes that ChatGPT came up with. One of them I thought was fantastic. When your phone is the last thing you touch at night, don't be surprised if your partner isn't.
Oh, that's good.
Right?
It's so true.
And they also wrote, no one's turned on by watching you scroll Zillow at 10:30.
You know, I'll say since we've been doing the 3-2-1, I feel like our sex life has improved.
Why don't you explain it 3, 2, 1?
So the 3-2-1 is something like you
Quickly.
gamified with our family, but it's 3 hours before bed, no eating, 2 hours before bed, done working. So no emails, no homework, no whatever. 1 hour before bed, no electronics whatsoever. So that's like our reading time, whatever. And then we go to bed at 9:30 is the goal.
If we can get the girls to sleep by 9:30 and
Well,
everyone's asleep,
exactly.
then we have 9:30 to 10
And we have much better odds.
to fool around and play.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. But it also forces you not only off your telephone, but you're not just watching TV till the TV.
Well, and there's a statistic on there too, and it talks about like actually the blue light, like scientifically reduces your sex drive.
Blue light equals reduced melatonin equals worse sleep equals less
Yes.
sex. They were also talking about, the digital dopamine hijack, right? So all social media, sexual arousal is tied to anticipation and presence, but constant screen stimulation lowers natural arousal and numbs emotional cues. The brain is overstimulated yet undersatisfied. We're trading real intimacy for artificial stimulation and wonder why desire feels distant. If you had to predict in the future if people are going to be having more sex or less sex,
It's less sex.
but here's a little follow-up. Do you think they're going to be having virtual reality sex?
Yeah,
Augmented reality sex?
That's
Sex
so
with a
fucking
robot?
weird. Yeah.
Right?
I think it's already happening. I think that people are already having like emotional relationships with AI. because it's so easy to, like, it's just, I don't know, it's just wild. And then I think that 100%, I mean, I think we have a lonely epidemic in our society. And I feel like AI is giving people that, companionship, and it's eventually going to lead into something sexual.
Not us. We're going to be on a ranch and, you're going to be all natural with a big bush, like one of those original women. But
that's not what I'm
smelling like the country. And I'm going to be like a big hairy man.
No, that's not actually what's going to happen at all.
It's like we're going
to be on a homestead, but we're going to be really in shape.
We're going to have like a 70s.
Perfectly shaved.
A 70s filter throughout our whole life of just, I'm going to grow a mustache.
No, none of that is actually happening. But think about it.
We have to reconnect to that analog world, right? Because if not, I mean, here's the thing. Like, I think real intimacy, contact, communication, and physical sex is going to become the exception, not the rule, which is wild. I mean, in some ways, I'm excited the fact that our daughters are less likely to have sex as early on as you and I had.
Right.
Right? Late millennials, Gen Xers. I mean, I don't know if you feel comfortable. I lost my virginity at 14 years old.
Yeah, I was 15.
You were 15. Like,
that's young. I mean,
it is.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the average age is right now of people, but I feel like kids are having less and less, maybe not kids, but like that whole generation is having less and less sex.
Well, think about where you're from, right? Not to be stereotypical, but when you're in the country, it's like, what else is there to do back then?
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's like drink beer, have sex, bonfires. I mean, it's a stereotype, parties. But there's a lot of truth to it.
Yeah, it was good times.
Even me in Long Island, like, you had the football games, you went to the beach, you went to all the places, like, hooking up
now they're
was
just
part
not.
of
Yeah, I mean, it goes hand in hand with our last conversation, just about phones in general and kids being distracted and them sitting in their rooms playing video games or being on their phone and not even communicating like face to face with their friends or with their boyfriends or whatever,
How much a part of the 10-year marriage and the future of someone's relationship should be based around physical intimacy?
I mean, a pretty good part. It's for us, it's one of, I mean, I know for you, it's a primary requirement. You know what I mean? And even for me, like when I'm in the act, it's like, I'm like, why aren't we doing this all the time?
I guess I could follow up on that. For me, it is important. I'll answer this, but I'll also ask you as well, like, if two people, as they get older, are not having sex or not kissing or hugging, because intimacy is part of this game as well. It's not just insertion, right?
Yeah.
The anticipation, just touching people. Like we have a hugging epidemic.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, there's stats that you should be having at least 8 hugs a day. People are just not being touched anymore, right? And so do you think it's possible to have a strong, growth-minded, soul-connected relationship without this physical touch?
I think intimacy is definitely a requirement for most couples in some shape or form, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be sex in the context that we're talking about. But yes, there has to be some form of intimacy or physical touch. And I think a lot of people, like if you go into the love languages, like mine is acts of service, yours is physical touch. Like these are things
It was until I met you.
Until now, it's what, words of affirmation?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I love you. I'm so proud of you.
So it happens when you marry a woman who doesn't communicate, but
I'm much better communicator now.
1,000%.
Yeah, you've forced me into that.
If you were paralyzed from the waist down and could never have another orgasm, would you feel
what kind of question is this?
Would you feel like you'd be able to satisfy me anymore?
Yeah, 100%. I have a mouth.
That's what I was going to say. Same thing. It's like if my dick didn't work, like, oh, thank God I was going to say a kind of linguist, but
I
just did. Because that's the reason why I asked that question. I mean, although it's kind of funny, it's like how in that point you'd have to work around it. I mean, I've heard of stories where, a man can't, prostate issues or whatever, like get those balloon inflated things or whatever. Like there's a feeling of wanting to pleasure the other person or touch or hug,
And so much of it is mental. Yeah. I mean, Like, it's so much mental. Like, I can't be the only one that has had orgasms in my sleep, right? And that's zero physical touch, and that's just mental. Like, it's just something, you know what I mean? So
You ever see that guy who can make people orgasm without touching them?
no.
That's wild.
No,
I
I did see
that.
see a reel just recently though of a guy that literally just orgasms all day long, and he's like, it's the worst thing ever, and it's like a physical.
What the hell is the
and
algorithm
he's like,
giving you?
I don't know. And he was like literally like walking through a park and like fell and was like, oh my God. Yeah. And it was
that
like
like a humor?
No, it was a serious thing. And all the comments were like, some of them were really funny comments, but some were like very serious. Like, oh my God, that has to be incredibly painful to happen all day long.
Yes, there's always too much of a good thing.
I believe that.
Imagine like just started orgasm.
I mean,
like,
but if I had to have a complex like or an issue, like that wouldn't be a terrible one to have.
You're at a funeral. Oh, feels so good. You're trying to put your kids to bed. You know what? That would be like a weird episode of Black Mirror. Like, don't want it. Don't want it.
I agree.
Hard pivot. How much do you think pornography is playing a game in intimacy and sex issues? You think it's helping or hurting?
I think it's hurting because of the extent of it, right? Like, I think before when it was like magazines or whatever, like, I think that it would be like, oh, this like gets people turned on and then they can perform. But I think it's definitely hurting now.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's unrealistic expectations.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't watch much porn, but when I do, I'm like, yeah, that's not real.
I know.
Yeah. And I think it's giving kids, because kids have access to this stuff at an early age. I think it's giving kids this idea of sex that's not real either. You know, like when you first have sex with somebody, normally it's really awkward and it's really uncomfortable and you're just trying to kind of figure it out and like do all the things. Like, it's not what they portray on
Plus,
porn.
I think the quality matters too. Porn isn't what it used to be, right? Like, there was a fun goofiness to it back in the day. Like, I've watched porns from like the 80s, like the Debbie Does Dallas's. Like, there's plots and it's ridiculous and it looks like normal human beings.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think it's the quality. Now it's just like everything else. It's been ruined. It's just wild how much sex is part of the game, but it's hiding as not part of it. Right? For instance, like, you want to look great, right? You want to, you do, you don't have hardly any work done, but there's still a lot of things you do for maintenance and to take care of yourself, right? I mean, ultimately, isn't that because you want to be desired?
Yeah. I mean, totally. And even when people are working out and people are feeling fit, like, they feel more desirable. Like, it makes them want to have more sex. It makes them want to feel good about themselves. I did those pictures for you and I was like, oh wow, like, it gave me confidence. And I was like, I want to have more sex. You know what I mean? So I think, ultimately everybody wants to feel desired and put in the work to do it.
So desired and loved. And one of the ways that is shared is, one of the main ways is physical touch. Right? Although I do think a lot of people nowadays just want the attention more than the sex, which just shows you where we're at.
They need the presence.
How about masturbation as far as out of that 100? Like, do you think masturbation
is included? No.
No.
No,
Gotcha.
You can masturbate 5 times a week if you want, but it doesn't really solve our connection. I feel like sex is an energy transference too. Like, I think that's a whole nother topic because, some of the times that we've had where like you might not be in a good place and you're just like, have anxiety or there's things going on in your mind where I'm like, I don't want this energy transference. Like, even if I do want to have sex, like, I believe it's a full on experience. Right. So like, I don't want that energy. And so it doesn't turn me on.
That's one of the reasons why I didn't want to have it planned too much, because I don't want it to check off. You don't want it
to be
like, I'm sure
something we have to do, not get to do.
There was a lot of guys, like, I was fortunate. I never really had a time in my life where women didn't want to have sex with me. Right. And so I never was in a position of like, oh boy, I better take this opportunity right now, or try to have to like, I don't know, cajole or manipulate or get a girl drunk or like, you know what I mean? Like, that was never part of my game. If anything, I played this cat and mouse game because I wanted whoever I wanted to sleep with to be really excited about it and almost like, why doesn't he want to sleep with me? Right? Because to me, I don't want it if it's easy. Right? That's number one. Like if it's easy for me.
That's why I think we have a really good sex life, is because
wait.
I don't make it easy for you. And that if I did,
but wait,
might be issues.
I also don't want to have sex with someone who's not into it.
Yeah.
Like I don't need this like dead fish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're not in that, like it's
just checking off the
it's
box.
not like I rather masturbate. Like I'm out. Like even with my buddies, especially in my 20s in college, they were just like, you know, stay as long as you could at the club in order to, you know, whatever girl's left type thing, so you don't go home alone. Why even giving that look? That's how men are.
No, I know, that's sad.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a conquest.
Yeah.
I didn't realize this now. I have a higher standard, but this higher standard, I just thought I was picky and quality over quantity, but this higher standard was something that I just was like, I'd rather go out, get a girl's number that I connected with, and then potentially sleep with her on the second, third date that could lead to something. Unless I was just like super turned on, right? And this girl, to me, it had to be a connection.
Yeah.
It could be physical, but it had to be strong, right? I didn't want to be in that game. So when you're talking about that, like, I'd rather have quality over quantity.
Yeah.
Every day of the week. I'd rather have one time a week that is amazing than
three that are just checking off a box.
I'm just checking off the box. Because then I'm gonna lose interest. But you got to put work into it, and that's the other thing, right? And so I'm guilty of this, where I'm just like, you should be ready to go, and whenever the king takes off his pants, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's unfair too. Date nights and seduction.
It's like that conversation we had. What's attractive to a woman? Like when you are on your game, or when you feel good and when you're happy and smiling. Like last night, it was great because we were laughing hysterically before. You know what I mean? Like even though we didn't have sex last night, we had sex this morning. But it was still like you were happy. Like if you're just like moping around or not in a good mood or whatever, like women don't want to fuck that.
True, but
you know
also the man also doesn't want to be always the pursuer.
No, 100%.
Right? Like it's like, come on, show. I think a lot of men would like women to initiate more.
Yeah,
I think that is the most common thing. You're like, all right, and I think that's why some men are hesitant to initiate.
Yeah.
Like, I'll get pissed off. It's ironic. This has not been an issue for a while for me with you. But in the past, I'd be like, well, fuck this. I'm not chasing her. Let's see how far I can go. Right? Which, that doesn't work either.
Yeah.
I remember one of my coaches, Garrett, used to talk about quickie porn star. Remember that? Like 2 quickies and 1 full out sexathon. Right? And they had a little game with that.
Yeah.
But I do think if you just let this like fall by the wayside, it's like everything else. If there's no growth in your sex life or your intimacy or your connection, it's going to bleed over into the rest of your relationship. So while the lack of should be a warning sign, it doesn't mean that you just need to have more sex.
Right.
But it's maybe the gateway into why aren't we having a lot of sex? Probably means you're not communicating. Probably means you're not having growth oriented. Because back to things we've talked about in the past, you know, you want to fuck a guy who has that sauce, that riz, the kids call it, right? The character that has that purpose, the charisma, right? Like that's the most attractive thing.
Yeah. And I think for women, it's for men to feel attracted to women, they need to feel confident in their bodies and in their own skin and take care of themselves. And, you know,
I don't think they need that to feel attracted. It's definitely better sex, but they don't give a shit.
Not for men to feel attractive, but for women to want to have sex.
Gotcha.
They need to take care of themselves.
All right. So what are we committing to?
I mean,
1 blowjob a week.
Sure.
That's
1 blowjob.
Sure.
And then...
You know, the answer needs to be, I can't wait.
No, see, and this is where
I can't wait to get on my hands and knees and pleasure my king once a week.
No.
And king, please let it be twice a week.
Yeah.
That's what it needs to be.
In your fucking dreams.